Call off the wedding right now, or you'll regret it. The moment I read this text message on my phone, my heart dropped to my stomach. I was just a few days away from the most significant day of my life, my wedding day. I had been eagerly anticipating this moment for ages, envisioning a bright future with my fiancé, Alex. We had spent the past 3 blissful years together and had been engaged for over a year. Everything seemed to be falling into place perfectly until this morning. Hey everyone, welcome to Worldly Whispers. Let's get started. I first met Alex during volunteer project. We shared a passion for helping others, and that common ground quickly blossomed into a deep-seated love. Since then, we had planned our life together, from the smallest details of our wedding to our long-term dreams of traveling the world and starting a family. As the wedding day approached, the excitement was palpable. I had spent months choosing the perfect dress, planning the menu, and arranging every little aspect to make our special day unforgettable. But this cryptic and threatening message from an unknown number had thrown everything into chaos. I stared at the message, my hands trembling. Who could have sent this? And why? I had no clue. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. I was so lost in thought that I didn't even notice Alex walking into the room. Hey, what's wrong? Alex asked, his voice filled with concern. He noticed the look of distress on my face and immediately came over to me. I hesitated for a moment, not sure if I should show him the message. I didn't want to worry him, especially so close to the wedding, but I knew I couldn't keep it from him. So, with a heavy heart, I handed him my phone. As Alex read the message, his expression changed from curiosity to shock, and then to anger. "What the hell is this?" he exclaimed. "Who would send something like this?" I shook my head. "I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out, but I have no idea." Just then, my phone rang. It was my best friend, Lily. We had been inseparable since high school. She was always the one I turned to in times of trouble. "Hey, did you get a weird message?" Lily asked as soon as I picked up the phone. "Yeah, I did. Do you know what's going on?" I replied, my voice filled with desperation. Lily hesitated for a second. I think I might know who sent it, but you're not going to like it." "Who?" I demanded. "Remember Jake?" Lily said. "Your ex-boyfriend from college." I froze. Jake and I had dated for a year in college, but things ended badly. We had a huge fight, and I never thought I'd hear from him again. "What does he have to do with this?" I asked. "I heard from a mutual friend that he's been acting really strange lately. He's been asking about you and your wedding," Lily explained. "I think he might be the one who sent that message." I was stunned. I couldn't believe that Jake would do something like this, especially after all these years. I thought he had moved on, but now, it seemed like he was trying to ruin my happiness. This revelation not only added to the mystery, but also brought back a flood of memories from my past. I remembered the good times with Jake, but I also remembered the pain and heartbreak when we broke up. I had worked so hard to move on and build a new life with Alex, and now, it felt like Jake was trying to drag me back into the past. After hanging up with Lily, I was in a state of disbelief. The thought that Jake, my ex-boyfriend from college, could be behind this was almost too much to bear. Alex, sensing my distress, pulled me into his arms and held me tightly. "We'll figure this out, I promise," he said, his voice firm. "He's not going to ruin our wedding." But as the day went on, the situation only seemed to get worse. I started receiving more messages from different numbers, all with the same threatening tone, telling me to call off the wedding. Each message was like a punch in the gut, making me more and more anxious. I was torn between my desire to confront Jake and my fear of what he might do. On one hand, I wanted to tell him to leave me alone and stop trying to interfere in my life. On the other hand, I was worried that any contact with him could make the situation even more volatile. Adding to my stress, I started to notice some strange things happening around me. I felt like I was being watched, and a few times, I thought I saw a familiar-looking car parked near my house. I couldn't be sure if it was Jake, but the thought made me feel sick to my stomach. I also found it hard to focus on the wedding preparations. Every time I tried to think about the flowers, the decorations, or the guest list, my mind would wander back to the threatening messages. I was supposed to be the happiest woman in the world right now, but instead, I was filled with fear and uncertainty. That evening, as Alex and I sat on the couch, trying to come up with a plan, there was a knock on the door. We both froze, looking at each other with wide eyes. I had a sinking feeling in my stomach, and I knew that Alex felt the same way. "Do you think it's him?" I whispered. Alex shook his head. "I don't know, but we're going to find out." He got up and walked toward the door, his steps slow and cautious. When he opened the door, we were both surprised to see Lily standing there. She looked pale and worried. "I'm sorry to just show up like this," she said, "but I have some more information." Lily came in and sat down. She told us that she had run into Jake earlier that day. He had been drinking and was acting erratically. He had rambled on about how he still loved me and that I was making a mistake by marrying Alex. "I'm really worried about you," Lily said. "I think he's capable of doing something crazy." Her words sent a chill down my spine. I had always known that Jake could be a bit impulsive, but I never thought he would go to such lengths to try and stop my wedding. As we sat there, trying to process all this new information, I realized that the next few days are going to be even more challenging than I had anticipated. The threat from Jake loomed over me like a dark cloud, and I had no idea how we were going to make it through this and have the wedding of our dreams. With the weight of Jake's threat hanging over us, Alex and I decided we couldn't just sit around and wait for something to happen. We needed to take action. Alex, being the rational and level-headed person he was, suggested we go to the police. At first, I was hesitant. I didn't want this whole thing to turn into a bigger drama, and I was worried about what the police involvement might mean for Jake. But as the messages and the feeling of being watched continued, I finally agreed. At the police station, we explained the situation to the officer in charge. He listened attentively, taking notes and asking detailed questions. He assured us that they would look into the matter and do their best to ensure our safety. However, he also cautioned us that without concrete evidence, there wasn't much they could do immediately. Just as we were leaving the police station, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number, but this time, it was different. "I know you want the police. You'll pay for this." The message sent a shiver down my spine. It was clear that Jake was escalating things, and I was more scared than ever. Back at home, we tried to focus on the wedding preparations, but it was almost impossible. Every noise outside made me jump, and I found myself constantly checking my phone for new messages. That evening, while I was in the kitchen making dinner, Alex called me into the living room. He had a serious expression on his face. "I think we should consider having extra security at the wedding," he said. "I don't want to take any chances." I nodded in agreement. The thought of having security at our wedding was a bit disheartening. It wasn't how I had imagined our special day. But at this point, I was willing to do anything to ensure our safety and the success of the wedding. As we were discussing the security arrangements, there was a knock on the door. Alex and I exchanged a nervous look. This time, when Alex opened the door, it was a delivery man. He handed Alex a package and left. Alex brought the package inside, and we both stared at it suspiciously. We had no idea what was in it, and after the recent events, we were both on high alert. With a sense of trepidation, Alex opened the package. Inside, there was a framed photo of me and Jake from our college days, with a red X painted over my face. I gasped in horror. This was crossing the line. Jake's actions were becoming more and more menacing, and it was clear that he was not going to give up easily. The situation had reached a boiling point, and I was on the verge of a breakdown. But at the same time, I was determined not to let Jake win. I was going to marry Alex, and I was going to do everything in my power to make sure our wedding day was as perfect as we had always dreamed. The days leading up to the wedding were a blur of stress and anxiety, but also of unwavering determination. Alex and I worked closely with the security team, ensuring every possible precaution was in place. Despite the dark cloud of Jake's threats, we refused to let him overshadow our joy. Finally, the long-awaited wedding day arrived. As I stood in front of the mirror, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nervousness, I couldn't believe that this moment had finally come. The beautiful white gown, which I had chosen with such care, hugged my body perfectly, and the delicate lace and beading sparkled in the soft light. My bridesmaids fluttered around me, helping with my hair and makeup, their chatter filling the room with a sense of warmth and celebration. "Are you ready?" my maid of honor asked, her eyes shining with happiness. I took a deep breath and nodded, a wide smile spreading across my face. "Yes, I'm more than ready." As I walked down the aisle, the music swelling around me, I saw Alex standing at the altar, his eyes fixed on me. The look of love and adoration in his eyes made my heart skip a beat. All the worries and stresses of the past few days melted away, and I felt a sense of pure joy and contentment. Throughout the ceremony, I kept a watchful eye half, expecting Jake to show up and cause a scene. But to my relief, everything went smoothly. As we exchanged our vows, our voices steady and filled with emotion, I knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. Just as we were about to seal our vows with a kiss, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure at the back of the church. It was Jake, but instead of the angry, menacing look I had expected, he had a look of resignation on his face. He gave me a small nod and then quietly slipped out. After the ceremony, as we were celebrating at the reception, I couldn't help but think about Jake. Despite everything he had put us through, I felt a twinge of sadness for him. I hoped that he would eventually find peace and move on with his life. A few days later, we received a letter from Jake. In it, he apologized for his actions. He said that seeing me so happy with Alex had finally made him realize that he needed to let go. He wished us a lifetime of happiness and promised that he would never bother us again. As I finished reading the letter, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Our friendship, which had been tested to the limit, was now stronger than ever. I knew that there would be more challenges ahead in life, but with Alex by my side, I was confident that we could face anything. And as we looked forward to our future together, I was filled with hope and excitement for the adventures that awaited us.
Love this story? Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Don't forget to check out the video. See you in the next one.